So Laura Kuenssberg is set to replace Andrew Marr on the BBC Politics Sunday morning show. The journalist is taking over the role after announcing her decision to step down as the BBC's political editor last December. The Sunday morning politics show is a staple of British political discourse. Marr hosted it for 16 years, taking over from Sir David Frost, who steered the ship from 1993 to 2005. Now, if you don't know who Laura Kuenssberg is, she has been a BBC journalist for decades, and as I said before, the former BBC political editor, and she's also incredibly biased. In my opinion, incredibly pro-Tory bias. You don't just have to take my word for it. We've got many examples. In January 2017, the BBC Trust ruled that a report in November 2015, Kuenssberg broke broadcast impartiality and accuracy guidelines. During an interview with Jeremy Corbyn in her report, she gave the impression that Jeremy Corbyn would never support shoot to kill in all instances. Now, this is a reference to a 2015 interview just after the Paris terrorist attack. She asked him if he supported shoot to kill, and he said, well, I don't support it in general. But Kuenssberg made it out that Corbyn did not support shoot to kill in a matter of a terrorist attack, but that's not what he actually said. Take a look.
If you were Prime Minister, would you be happy to order people, police or military, to shoot to kill on Britain's streets?
I'm not happy with the shoot to kill policy in general. I think that is quite dangerous, and I think can often be counterproductive. I think you have to have security that prevents people firing off weapons where you can. There are various degrees of doing things, as we know, but the idea you end up with a war on the streets is not a good thing. Surely you have to work to try and prevent these things happening. That's got to be the priority.
What he meant was, I don't support shoot to kill in general, like all of the time, which is the correct response. However, at the very least, the BBC Trust did pull her on it, although there was no repercussions. So back in September 2019, Kuenssberg got a lot of shit, rightly so, for her portrayal of Omar Salim. Omar Salim was with his daughter in an NHS hospital, and Boris Johnson happened to be there, and he confronted him. He confronted him about the government's treatment of the NHS. But the way Kuenssberg reported it was like, ooh, a Labour activist confronted Boris Johnson, bringing it down merely to a political ploy rather than just a concerned father. So much so that she tweeted Omar saying, there he is, and doxed him. Way to really punch up against the powerful. So just before the 2019 general election, Laura Kuenssberg accidentally admitted live on the BBC that she had information regarding postal votes. Take a look.
By and large, this is a red-blue punch-up, isn't it?
Well, and also there is this question now about turnout. We haven't really talked much about turnout, actually, over the campaign, but that now is coming to the sort of front and centre of people's minds.
Certainly, and the forecast is it's going to be wet and cold tomorrow. The postal votes, of course, have already arrived. The parties, they're not meant to look at it, but they do kind of get a hint. And on both sides, people are telling me that the postal votes that are in are looking pretty grim for Labour in a lot of parts of the country.
Now, you might look at that video and think, well, that's pretty harmless viewing. But looking at postal votes is in breach of electoral guidelines, and it can even be a criminal offence. But once again, no repercussions happen to Laura Kuenssberg. That does raise some pretty big questions. Now, another example of Kuenssberg, and many top journalists did this as well, so-called top journalists, I should say, was tweeting a complete bullshit lie. A story of a Labour activist punching a Conservative Party advisor during the 2019 general election. Now, a video surfaced showing that this was completely made up.
You look after these people. They've devastated our country. They've absolutely devastated our country. There's nothing left.
Why is that boy sleeping on the floor?
These people have devastated our country.
Disgusting.
I pointed my hand at you, walked into it.
The BBC's Executive Complaints Unit stated that it found no evidence of political bias, nor that Laura Kuenssberg had failed to check the story before publication. Well, she clearly did fail to check because the story wasn't true. Now, in her defence, she said 2 people told me it was true, so I just went with it. This is a high-ranking BBC journalist on a very nice way, should I say, pushing out a lie based on anonymous sources. And those sources were, probably Conservative Party members or advisors. Anyway, they were like, hey, look, just publish our propaganda. And she just did it. And again, no repercussions. We've got 2 videos of Kuenssberg. One is her appearing on BBC in response to Rishi Sunak's budget in regards to the furlough scheme. I think it was about a year after it was first introduced, but notice her complete lack of economic literacy.
It's just enormous, Joe. I mean, it's just absolutely eye-wateringly enormous. And if you think of the debate that we had really from the late noughties all the way through to the 2015 election, that was defined by how's the country going to pay back what we had to borrow in the credit crisis. This is that and some, okay? This is the credit card, the national mortgage, everything absolutely maxed out. Enormous levels of the country basically being in the red. This is Rishi Sunak standing and telling the country for the next few years there is really no money, and of course that's going to mean hugely difficult decisions in the years to come.
Kuenssberg is literally parroting right-wing conservative bullshit talk points about the economy. She has no idea the difference between household debt and government debt. It's embarrassing. We've also got another video, and look at the framing of how she talks about the national insurance rise.
But I have heard a couple of interesting things this morning, that the government might actually push to have a vote on this new levy that's to go towards health costs and the cost of social care, perhaps to try to get some of those grumpy backbenchers on board and to show to the country, which Boris Johnson is very keen to do, whatever you think of him, that this was a difficult problem and he does actually intend to keep his promise to fix it.
So first, you'll notice that she referred to Tory backbenchers as grumpy for, well, correctly being pissed off that the Conservative government broke their manifesto pledge of increasing taxes. Then she also, in a way, sympathises with Boris Johnson by saying, he's making difficult decisions. But forgive me for thinking that this is just, it looks and sounds like a government statement coming from a government advisor. Laura Kuenssberg is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to bad journalism. Now, it's not just individual people. The problem is the whole mainstream media ecosystem. What we have is essentially client journalism, where government advisors or MPs can just send them stories and hoping it will just filter through with no accountability, no fact-checking, just literally being a government mouthpiece. But Laura Kuenssberg, she is exceptionally bad. Now, worryingly, most people still watch the BBC. According to Ofcom in 2020, the BBC remains the most viewed news source. 56% of adults get the news from BBC One, and according to its charter, the BBC should act in the public interest, serving all audiences through the provision of impartial, high quality and distinctive output. Now, this is what really, really pisses me off with the mainstream media, and especially the BBC. It's this fixation on impartiality. There's media outlets that say, we care about impartiality, and they say we don't want to take sides. But what really ends up happening is the political biases come through anyway. Everyone has political biases. We don't hide our views. We are a left-wing outlet. However, we admit that and we tell the truth the way we see it. The BBC, on the other hand, has been declining in journalistic standards for decades. So it's important to support independent media. It's important to support independent outlets like us, because we're not backed by powerful interests, we're not backed by big money, and we don't have cozy relationships. But unfortunately, most people still believe the BBC is a beacon of integrity and truth, and it's anything but.